Adam Page, CM Punk, Adam Cole, now Swerve Strickland. Do we still care about this AEW devil? Every week, there's another name that enters the hat. We will discuss it at large today, as well as obviously everything else that's gone on within the Continental Classic. What's up, people? My name is Mekz, the WrestleManiac, if you will, back again with another installment of Revolution Radio with my co-host, NK.
Yeah, people. Yeah, man. There's a lot to discuss. This AEW felt like there was a lot of good, but then there was one thing that stuck out like a sore thumb. So, boy, yeah, we're gonna get into it, man, because there's a lot to discuss. Man.
There is. I mean, those of you that have that are tuning in live, we appreciate it. Click the like button. If you're new to the WRESTHINGS channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. In fact, let's just obviously this being an AEW centric show, let's touch on a news item. We do cover this as well in the WRESTHINGS podcast that is currently out, but we were having a discussion. Obviously, all the news over the past week following a Sports Illustrated interview, MGF saying that he still hasn't signed his AEW contract, that he is still due, I guess, to leave the company possibly in January 2024 if he doesn't resign. Me and you both said yesterday when we discussed this that we don't believe this is the case. He probably has resigned already. Just again to touch on it, NK, like, what's your thoughts on MJF? If it is time for him to move on, should he be moving on? Or the AEW, should they be keeping him and looking to build on the likes of his name for years to come?
Yeah, I think MJF is most likely gonna still remain with the company. I feel like I said, they've given him the longest title reign in AEW history. They've had him go over, tenured veterans, people like founders of the company, Kenny Omega, the likes of Danielson, the Four Pillars, so on and so forth. And they still, it doesn't look like they're slowing down, and it doesn't make sense to, let's say MJF does lose the title, it doesn't make sense to hand over the person you literally just made your champion straight to the opposition when talent are flying that flies anywhere across both companies, sorry. I just don't see it. Even though like I have my gripes with MJF currently, I still think he's a talent worth retaining, and I'm sure Tony Khan believes he's a talent worth retaining. So I doubt it. And then there were reports earlier on this year, I can't remember if it was from Sean Ross Sapp or whatever, but it was basically the belief within WWE is that MJF has already signed an extension of his deal. That's the alleged belief within WWE, that he's very much locked into AEW. So I don't think there's any weight to this rumor, but stranger things have happened in wrestling. We never thought Cody was going to leave, and then here we are. So, never say never, but I think it's unlikely.
I think the most interesting part of this is that this is like, I think most fans probably believe at this point he has re-signed with the company. And it's MJF himself that's fueling this. Like, no one's, maybe obviously he was asked in the interview, but no one else is really discussing this, because I'm sure at large people believe that, yeah, it's the case, you've resigned. So for him to come out, and we know that MJF is like one of these wrestlers from the old school, like, he wants to very much try to keep kayfabe alive. And he's almost in the interview, he's mocking fans for thinking this and putting this rhetoric out there that this may still be the case. But like I'm saying, he's the one that's fueling it on this occasion that he hasn't signed. So is there any chance that he is telling the truth here? This isn't just something he's putting out there to build a storyline or anything. Do you think he's honestly just like, yeah, I haven't resigned, like, even if he does intend to?
I mean, I mean, I guess, but then we'd have to call into question Tony Khan and the management of his contracts and so on and so forth. And as much critique we have for Tony Khan, I'd like to assume he's a more shrewd businessman than to let one of his, talent go during this period of time, during the period where he's most been pushed. I mean, Tony Khan comes from a sports background. This would be criminal in sports. It's happened in sports, but it'd be criminal. I'd say a thing in the wrestling industry, especially now that AEW, as he mentioned in the press conference, whether rightfully or wrongfully, so AEW is under critique. So to give, WWE essentially a layup by not securing MJF to, a pretty long-term and hefty contract would be, business malpractice. So yeah, I doubt it. I mean, like I said, stranger things have happened in wrestling. I mean, we've seen in wrestling history, for example, the Monday Night Wars were a thing where talent literally would walk on to the opposing show and cause a ruckus. And I just don't think MJF. Maybe later on down the line, sure, but now too many things would have had to go wrong for this to happen. And we'd be asking very different questions. It wouldn't be, oh, who's MJF facing in WWE? Is how did AEW let this happen?
Yeah. It would be definitely a case of what's gone wrong.
Yeah.
If this was going to be the case so soon. But yeah, very, very interesting conversation. Like I say, for me, it's only weird because it's him that he's the one that's fueling it, rather than the dirt sheets or anything else. But like you said, I think WWE had said a couple of months ago that the belief is that he had signed a new contract anyway, hence why they're not pursuing him and stuff. These lot in the chat are with Beeb and Queasy. Right, but touching on MJF, let's talk about obviously his major storyline that's playing out on TV right now. The devil. His devil mask, someone else is under it, maybe. And his kind of segment started off with him being firstly inducted into the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. When I watched this, I didn't think I would ever really see MJF, at least at this stage of his career, from where he was as just this dastardly heel, like getting these kind of almost humanitarian awards. I just didn't see this, and I know like he's using this platform to kind of drive forward this particular mission that he's on for equality within the Jewish community, which is absolutely fine. I just struggle to now think, do we ever get back to a place of dastardly MJF?
This wasn't too out of place for me because I remember, I think it might have been either last year or this year. It might have been last year where he got like the keys to Long Island or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a similar thing. Obviously, this one was a lot more earnest compared to that one. Honestly, I could. Do you know what it is? Maybe it's because I'm tired of the character, but I can honestly see MJF going back to being a heel quite easily.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of just right opponent. And we'll get to potential opponents down the line, but I just think you pair MJF with the right opponent, and yeah, like you can easily see fans telling him. But this was like a nice, sincere moment. Obviously, one thing about MJF, he's never been shy about his heritage and his pride in his heritage. So this is always a good thing to see in wrestling, isn't it? Just using the platform to promote what you're about.
Yeah. And I guess right now, as a babyface champion, it kind of works as well for him. This was followed by Wardlow, a vignette backstage, him doing the usual spiel that we've come to see recently of, he's going to basically, or him being MJF, sorry, is going to get his time with Wardlow. He made reference to the end coming soon, World's End, obviously, which is next weekend. I don't know how they're messing with me here because I'm sure Wardlow is probably one of these masked guys amongst the devil, but for him to kind of be like, do you think Wardlow is like going? How can I put this? He's trying to get to MJF like the devil is, but on a barefaced thing. Like he's trying to get there before the devil, or like I'm just a bit kind of. I feel like I said, he's one of the masked men, but at the same time, I feel like they're trying to throw us off with Wardlow doing his own vignettes away from this as well.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to throw the scent off. And I look at this as, do his promos contradict the fact that he could be a masked man? Not really. Because his promos are like, MJF's going to get what's coming to him. I'm going to make sure MJF's going to get what's coming to him. So if he's one of the masked men and he's like, and he costs MJF a title or just causes MJF misery, he's still fulfilling what he said and he's not contradicting much. I still think he's one of the masked men. I don't know, but if he's not one of the masked men, then it's kind of like, get to it, you know, like you're doing all this talking, but get to it, like just do what you need to do. But yeah, like we'll see with Wardlow. With Wardlow, it's kind of, I'm interested to see MJF and Wardlow feud, but I think Wardlow works as a heel, but I don't know how him and MJF's dynamic will work as babyface and heel now. That's the one thing I won't say concerned about, but curious just to see how that works with Wardlow as a heel and MJF as the babyface.
I think you said it, like if Wardlow is definitely, if he's on MJF, like he's saying he's on MJF, like get to it then. What's holding you back? What's stopping you, sort of thing? Like it's very weird to me, like, and I'm thinking at the same time, like they've done some good work here to kind of rehabilitate Wardlow and get us somewhat caring about him again, looking menacing again. Is him feuding against MJF, is that a good idea? Because if MJF just cooks him again on the mic, in the ring, like Wardlow just goes back into that place he was. Like I'm even thinking, because like I said, this side-by-side thing with the devil and Wardlow is messing with my head. I'm thinking, is Wardlow gonna maybe defend MJF in some way, somehow, take his side? Not like Samoa Joe, but like I just feel like there's no benefit of Wardlow going up against MJF. There's no benefit for him at all.
I get, do you know what? Because it's like, now that the whole, it's because, and this is the benefit of doing, like having multiple challenges, is that we know who's coming up next in terms of like, okay, we've set up potential challenges, but the problem with setting up too many challenges, like, okay, now what do we do with all of them? We've got Samoa Joe, we've got the devil, we've got a lot that's going on, and it's just like, at this point, Wardlow feels like a non-factor, and that's why, like, the only way he realistically like fits in is if he's a part of the devil group. But then if he's part of that, then that doesn't guarantee him a title shot either. But has he made his ambitions towards the titles to MJF? Because if it's solely just MJF, then the joining the faction makes sense. But if it's for a title, then that makes no sense. Because joining a faction is not going to get you closer to a title unless you're the leader. And we firmly, I think if Wardlow was revealed as the devil himself, yeah, I think we'd be disappointed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's his involvement in this is somewhat, I'm just giving me something to question. I don't know. But yeah, the segment that really kind of started off this whole devil stuff on this particular show, we saw Samoa Joe come down to the ring, and Samoa Joe basically was saying that, you know, his questioning, his line of questioning might be correct, but I guess from what we saw last week in terms of Hangman getting beaten up at the end of the show, then maybe Hangman isn't the devil, and he's kind of chosen to point the finger now at MJF, saying that yeah, we've seen MJF laid out, and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, we never saw him be attacked. MJF came out. MJF had some, you know, he went back and forth with Joe as well. Talked about his appearance and stuff like that. He accused Joe of possibly being the devil as well, because when Joe was in the ring, what was it, 2 weeks ago or so, and the masked men surrounded the ring, they didn't actually attack Joe either. So yeah, there's just a lot of pointing fingers and kind of not trusting each other, and MJF prepared to fight Joe on the spot instead of waiting to World's End. And that's when we saw lights went out, lights came back on, dim lights, and the ring was descended upon by masked men, but not the like full masked men that had the devil mask on the back of their sweatshirts or whatever. This was literally Retribution-esque, with hella men just dressed in black coming into the ring, being beaten up, tossed. There was one right at the end where I think Joe was throwing this guy out the ring through the bottom rope and had hold of his mask at the top of like his head. And as the guy kind of got out the ring, like the mask kind of pulled up a bit, but then like the guy got out. And I was thinking, even why wouldn't they just hold one of these men and unmask one of them? Like, if they were really determined. I think the whole thing just looked messy regardless, with just all these jabronis dressed in black. Then the full masked men that we've come to know with the devil mask on their backs came in, surrounded the ring. Again, lights went out, lights come back on, Titron's on. We see the actual devil. We see a whole lot of stuff. I'm thinking, did I write it down in my notes? That was on the screen. Yeah, the text said, where can you go? Who can you trust? Who can you trust? Oh, I forgot. I didn't write the rest. But yeah, he challenged for the Ring of Honor tag team titles, which has now spun me as well. What does the devil want with the Ring of Honor tag team championships? What does the devil want with a tag match? Well, because remember, we meant to get a tag match 2 weeks ago that never took place in the end. Are these for you? Are these clues as to who this could be? We know obviously MJF is the tag team champion, Ring of Honor tag team champion with Adam Cole, but it looks like Samoa Joe's gonna stand in and do the honors again. What did you think of this segment, and why the Ring of Honor tag titles?
This segment was hokey. The segment was. It doesn't. We like every week, right? I guess we could say you progress the story forward because now we have a match for the ROH Tag Team Championship. And by the way, I think retrospect, them winning the Tag Team Championships was a big mistake. I know they intended for Adam Cole and MJF to be the tag team champions, but even if Adam Cole was still here, I'm just not a fan of this in particular. I just thought like this devil stuff is the feud for the pay-per-view is MJF and Samoa Joe. And granted, we're getting interactions between them two. But remember, Joe sacrificed his Ring of Honor TV title to be here. I should be getting impassioned promos from Samoa Joe about how much the AEW title means to him. Sure, if you want to do the whole, hey, I'm protecting MJF thing here and there, you could still do that. You could still do that here and there, like every other week. But I'm just tired of, I called it like a Scooby-Doo monster mystery of the week because I'm just tired. And I think I said this at Full Gear. I'm done. I'm done with the devil stuff, and like they've done nothing to reinvigorate me about this stuff. Like I'm just waiting for this to end. Like I'm not even like theory crafting who it could be. I'm just at a point where it's like, this doesn't benefit the product, and I feel like whoever's going to be unveiled, I don't think this will do them any service. Like whoever's unveiled, it's like, okay, it was you all along. Why? Exactly. Why did you go after the Ring of Honor titles? Why did you do this? Like the motive, even if it is Adam Cole, whoever, the motivation for all this extraness just seems silly. Like it just seems silly. It just seems like, oh, drama for the sake of drama. I don't know. I'm just done with this, to be honest. Like I'm just not even impressed in the slightest. And this isn't even me trying to be negative. It was just objectively bad. It was bad.
Like what I'm kind of enjoying or holding on to right now is like I said last week, it was like, oh, Hangman's name's been thrown in. Interesting. And there was a little, you know, played out for Hangman a bit until the end of the show when we realized, okay, it's not Hangman. Then this week, which we'll get onto shortly, Swerve's name's thrown into it. So it's like they're bringing forward kind of new names, which it could be, and there's good reason. Like right now for me, Hangman and Swerve, although obviously Hangman's been proven it's not, and I don't think it's Swerve, are better devils than, I guess, the bookie's favorite, who is Adam Cole. Like Adam Cole, like I was saying before, like right now, there's just no heat. If he unveiled himself tomorrow or come World's End, it's like there's just no heat behind this. There's no reason why you should be the devil, sort of thing. From what we have seen on TV, obviously there's like underlying reasons and stuff, but it's like it's very underwhelming. And I can't lie, my wild card of it being Tony Khan, I feel is strengthened, maybe even so through MJF going to the press, Sports Illustrated, and saying all this stuff about his contract. Like I feel right now it probably makes more sense for it to be Tony Khan than the likes of Adam Cole. Not saying I want Tony Khan to be the devil, but like I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued to see where the story lands and who's going to be under that mask and who the other people are. But right now, we're running out of people that are going to remove this mask from their head, and you're actually going to care. Like, oh my god, it's this person. Unless it's Tony Khan.
Yeah, I feel like if it's Tony Khan, then we're more in. We have fully crossed the line to WWE territory.
Yeah.
Like this is Vince McMahon, like literally.
Yeah.
So it was me, Austin. Like yeah. Let the time. I'm just ready for this to end. I'm sorry. I don't have anything constructive to say because I don't see a road for improvement. That's the thing. It's one of those things. The reason why I'm so like just whatever about this, because when I critique things, I usually critique things in the hope of improvement or there's a clear pivot point.
Yeah.
But I think this is where it is right now. Like I don't see any room for change unless this ends. And even when it ends, it's gonna this will be like a thing that even if MJF loses the title, this will be something that's gonna like move into 2024. Heck, we might get this into like February or March of 2024. So yeah, man. Listen, it ain't going anywhere.
Say that again. We might get this, as in the devil stuff, into then.
Yeah, not in terms of like the mystery. I think the mystery will be unveiled, but in terms of just what the feud, the fallout, because they plan to make this a blood feud. Like this will be like a feud where it's like I don't think this will be resolved under one pay-per-view. It's going to be a few weeks of build-up of why whoever it was, why did you do this? Why? And I did this because of this, and then maybe into Revolution we'll get the match, and then it'll end from there. But the fallout from the Devil saga won't just be wrapped up, in my opinion, in one match. And then you've still got the other members to deal with.
Yeah.
Aside from the actual devil himself. So this could be like a thing that's dragged out for an extended period of time, even post this.
So you saying that has actually reminded me of another thing I thought today as I watched the show. What if the devil, leader of the devil, whatever, in the group is Will Ospreay and the Don Callis family? Because that's the only other way you really make this shocking. Like you said, February, when we obviously know that Will be around. It could be a main event feud where, you know, MJF kind of battles the other members of the Don Callis family until we get to about August time and he gets Will Ospreay at All In. It's not a pretty option. Like I said, they've said the people under the masks are the people it's actually going to be. So you, obviously, like, you should be able to spot Will Hobbs' body from a mile away if that was the case. So, but I'm just thinking, you know, who else could it be? Going back to your WWE reference, Don Callis was supposed to be the guy that was under the mask when it was Vince.
Oh,
so maybe they are kind of rewriting that here. Again, it's not one of my first choices, but
I guess
the Don Callis family aren't doing much of nothing.
No, I guess for me, I think the reason why the whole red herring of Roderick Strong saying somehow like the Roderick Strong saying like being so anti the devil and anti MJF and anti the devil, and they're the ones who haven't been touched, just screams that it's you, man. It's like it's you, man. It's you. I know it's you. It's you, man. Heck, it might not even be Adam. It might just be Roderick. It might not even be Adam. It might be just Roderick's on his own thing. And honestly, but maybe it's because he's wrestling more and he's not in a wheelchair, and it's not like and the Samoa Adam like doesn't annoy me as much. So if it is Roderick Strong, I wouldn't mind. I'm more into Roderick Strong himself. Just it's Roderick this whole time than Adam.
Could be. Dell in the chat said he saw a theory online that there could be two devils. Glody also says, you know, that'll be a good twist. Yeah, big up Navy. Yeah, if there's two devils, guys in the chat, you know, guys and girls, put your guesses in who the two could be. I guess again, people will go for maybe a Britt Baker and an Adam Cole. But yeah, it's something. And then from this particular segment, we go into MJF and Samoa Joe walking backstage. Samoa Joe goes off. He's, you know, I guess doing his bodyguard bit of looking after MJF. MJF finds a devil, like a henchman mask, or more like a ski mask, a balaclava on the floor. As he picks it up, he sees it's outside the door of the Mogul Embassy's locker room. He knocks on the door. Prince Nana comes out. He chiefs up Prince Nana, but then Swerve Strickland comes out to Nana's rescue, if you like. And him and Swerve have a really cool war of words between them, talking about their past, talking about where they are now, you know, what they're doing on the AEW stage. And they kind of hint at, you know, could you be the devil sort of thing to Swerve, and Swerve doesn't really pay any attention. But more of what I think they've set up here is literally, like, I think the first line of Swerve's part of the promo was that, you know, MJF, you've been ducking me since I've got here, sort of thing. Don't know, NK's gone off. Yeah, so it could be a thing where Swerve is Swerve. I think they just use this segment to basically introduce us, to put Swerve and MGF on screen together, just to kind of get the war of words going, before it's a case of, you know, is Swerve going to be the world champion? And MJF made all the references of everything Swerve has been saying in the media about, you know, you're just talking about becoming champion, where whilst I've gone and done it, and all of that kind of stuff. He talked about their contract situation in NXT and all of that kind of stuff. It was a really, really good interaction between the two of them. And when it looked like it was gonna maybe come to about fisticuffs, we saw the Mogul Embassy. They opened the locker room door. They were all standing there. Samoa Joe, who clearly didn't go anywhere after he left MJF, he was literally just hiding around the corner waiting to reappear. Reappeared and, you know, asked them what's good in the hood, and obviously showed he still got MJF's back going into their world title match at World's End. So like I say, Swerve's name thrown into the hat. But NK, what did you think of the interaction mainly between MJF and Swerve?
I love this, and I mean, this just further cemented how ready Swerve is for that main event scene. He handled himself incredibly well in the promo. The back and forths were excellent. And this is kind of where I remember I alluded a few weeks ago when we had the Hangman segment where Swerve was in his house, Hangman's house, and he threw the shirt on the baby. That I'm not really a fan of super villainous Swerve. This is kind of the Swerve I'm more of a fan of, just like supremely confident, arrogant Swerve, where he just has that level of self-belief in himself that borders on arrogance, and they're just like, I'm cooler than you energy. That's what I want Swerve to tap into, not the super villain. That's just not for me what resonates with me when it comes to Swerve. I remember like we had a conversation months ago just about who's next and who's primed for the title. And we threw out a bunch of names who it could be. Heck, a few months ago I wanted it to be Adam Cole because he's in a hot angle. But there's nobody in the company right now who, and obviously, Swerve's got momentum and it's only been a few months, but even just his performance today, there's nobody who feels more primed, more ready for that title than Swerve at the moment. It's almost similar to MJF, where it was like, I remember like a year ago, or even like over a year ago, where MJF was just working at a level where it was just like, he's ready for the championship. It wasn't a matter if, it was just a matter of when. MJF was inevitable when it came to that title. And Swerve is slowly getting to that point where it's just like, he's undeniable. Like, he's above like the TNT picture. He's above the All Atlantic picture. And those titles, well, more All Atlantic and TNT, at least within the last 6 months, have been booked well. And that's no discredit to those titles. But Swerve just seems ready for the moon. So I'm ready. And honestly, if MJF is going to continue being a babyface and Swerve's going to be a heel, it's perfect. But I feel like if Swerve and MJF was to face off right now, I honestly think Swerve will get cheered. I honestly think Swerve has just got that. And the tricky part is, how do you keep him as a heel? Because I don't want them to turn him babyface. I don't think Swerve should be a babyface right now. I think this heel persona works, but it's one of those things, as maybe us fans were to blame. We just like to root for the bad guy these days as wrestling fans, and we gravitate towards heels the most. And when I look at Swerve, I'm just like, I know I'm not supposed to like you, but I can't help but root for you.
Yeah. And I think MJF was on form as well. I see in the chat Ola saying the line about breaking both arms so Swerve can really swerve when he drives. I think that was a brilliant line. He was in his bag again of being a heel or being distasteful sort of thing, to almost give room for Swerve to shine in everything he was saying. But yeah, this is between the two of them in that moment. It's like, this is what this should be. Like, this is what the company should be doing. Two kind of young upstarts that are getting opportunities now. And it's like through every word they were saying to each other, you could just see the hunger in MJF. I'm still going to prove I'm the best champion for this company. And Swerve, like you're saying, almost saying, I'm ready for this top spot sort of thing. So yeah, out of the whole devil stuff that happened, this was the positive of it all. And like I said, as soon as the accusation came that are you the devil, are you behind this, I'm happy Swerve didn't even entertain it. Like Hangman last week done a bit, I wouldn't say he's done too much, but he was like, oh, am I the devil? Am I, like, he played into it almost sort of thing. Swerve just basically just aired it and just continued saying what he was saying. So yeah, I think they're teeing us up nicely for a Swerve MGF feud. I think maybe in the new year. How soon that's gonna come, we'll see. We'll just go through. We'll touch on some of the other matches that happened on the night. I think we saw a pretty good match under 10 minutes between Commander and Roderick Strong. That was really good. And Roderick Strong is, the character is one thing, but Roddy in the ring is still
Bro,
fantastic and great to watch.
that end of Heartache was crazy. Like he flipped, like the way Commander, and his credit to Commander, the way he just flipped at the end of Heartache, and that looked devastating. I was like, please don't kick out, please don't kick out. But
Yeah.
I will say, minor nitpick, but this has less to do with the match and more so with we need to start getting Commander and quite frankly, a lot of these other Mexican wrestlers some wins. These guys have been showcased a lot on Dynamite, and it is good for their exposure, but at the same time, they need to stop, especially Commander. He signed, I think he signed to AEW.
You know what they're doing though?
What?
Because maybe you're not watching Rampage. They're winning on Rampage.
I saw they're winning on Rampage,
But
but
they don't
even
win
on
on
Rampage, I
Dynamite.
saw their last match. They lost their trios match to was it
Yeah.
Action
To
Andretti and Top
actually,
Flight.
yeah. Because
So
they're gonna go for the trios titles now
yeah,
against
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. But on the bit, and the thing is, they're getting wins on Rampage. Rampage is like getting better, and I'm glad they are being featured on Rampage. But it can't just only be Rampage. Sure, I understand Roderick Strong for storyline purposes needs the wins, so that's fine. But then have a commander go out against anyone. Like it doesn't have to be anyone of value or even on a collision. Have these men go out and collect some wins here and there, and even give them a title shot. Give them a title shot for have them build what they're doing with Riho, for example. They're building up as a contender for the women's title. We know she won't win, but then they're building up wins. So when she does go to women's title, she's got a bit of momentum behind her. Say if you're a commander, like obviously I know Bandido's injured, but you've got a bunch of different wrestlers that you could build up small wins here and there, give them a title shot. They ultimately lose, but then you've given them something. Because I think going out consistently week to week and losing isn't doing much for you, despite the fact that you're putting on great performances. And we all know the Mexican market in wrestling is a market that's been left virtually untapped by American promotions for decades. So you've got an abundance of this Mexican talent. Use it.
Yeah, they've got access to them all, sort of thing. Like you said, they like I said, they've been getting a showcase on Rampage without fail every week now. Yes, this past week they did lose, I guess, to set up the brothers and Action Andretti for that trios match that they got coming. But yeah, they definitely need to get some wins, otherwise they're just going to become quote unquote jobbers on Dynamite and Collision and stuff. We also had an address from Christian Cage, which basically said he's going to be on Collision, and I guess he's going to answer the challenge from Adam Copeland on if he's going to defend the TNT title at World's End in a no disqualification match. We had Rio versus Sera. This was a number one contenders match to see who out of these ladies, if they won, would go on to face Toni Storm at World's End for the AEW Women's World Title. Toni Storm again on commentary, very entertaining on commentary. A decent enough match between Riho and Sera. Went for about 10 minutes as well. It's good to see them bring Riho back to and she'll be the match at World's End is going to be really good. As Sera made her entrance, there was a massive pop for Sera, and it kind of got me in my feelings, thinking I understand if she can't get back to the level she was at before injury or whatever, but this was supposed to kind of be the savior. Am I fair in saying that? Like when they brought in Sera, it was kind of like this is someone that is really gonna take a hold of this division and help us get to the next step. I think that's a
Yeah.
fair assessment. And it's like, although she has been maybe poor within the ring or not up to her standard in the ring, maybe because of injury or just taking time to get back to normal, just why haven't they managed to book her well, someone of her name stature? What's been the issue here? Like, it really kind of disappointed me, especially after that big reaction that she got when she came out. But what did you think about Rio and Sera?
I thought it was a pretty solid match. I love Riho, and I saw a lot of complaints online about why. I don't know where these people have come from, whether they joined the product post CM Punk or what. because they were like, "Oh, who's this? Why is this real woman on TV? What she's the
Swear.
I saw Bear. I saw why is this real woman on TV and the whole thing about look at her size, she's not credible. So I did a little Google. You know, she's the same height as Alexa Bliss.
Oh, really?
They're the same height. Alexa Bliss only weighs like a little bit more than her,
Mm.
but they're the same height. They're comparable in weight class. If they were fighters, they'd be fighting in the same division.
Yeah.
So the vitriol we have for Riho, but we're accepting of other, and even Selena Vega, very short woman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Rio's probably bigger than Selena Vega.
You know what I'm saying? But I saw that and I was like, okay, weird. But I'm happy for Rio. I just want her to be a consistent fixture this division. I just want consistency in the faces we see in this division. And where's Britt Baker? Where we saw Thunder Rosa come back fine, which I thought her debut was kind of underwhelming if I'm keeping it a buck.
Yeah, it was.
But where's Britt Baker? Like, as much as like this feels like, it doesn't feel like an overcorrection. It just feels like what is going on with a lot of the AEW originals. What is going on? Yeah, it's weird because Britt Baker was such a staple of this division, and when these faces were added, it was like, okay, they're going to add to the division amongst the Britt Bakers and amongst right now, like the real ace of this division feels like a 2-woman division with like Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida, and then everyone else is just below. And obviously Jamie Hayter's injured. We wish for her return, but even in that Jamie Hayter storyline, Britt Baker was there, and it's like as soon as Jamie Hayter got injured, it's like they yanked Britt Baker off with her. But I'm like, Britt Baker's not injured as far as we know. Britt Baker's fine; she can wrestle, and like losing her as a figure in this division is weird. It's strange to me. It's like like if you're taken out of the main event picture, the TBS picture is doing great. TBS picture, in my opinion, is much better than the women's title picture. Like it's a lot clearer where things lie. And they're doing a lot of good with the women on Collision with like obviously Statlander and Willow having that tag team match. Like that picture is looking a lot more promising than the main event picture. But if you're not going to do anything with Britt Baker in the title picture, which I think is fine, create storylines with her. Like, do something. I know there's limited time for the women, but there's easily things you could do with Britt Baker. You've got Rampage. I'm not saying put Britt Baker on Rampage, but if you want to make my Rampage a must-view show, put some stars on it.
Yeah,
you've got that extra hour of like weirdness. Put a star on it. So yeah.
It's very weird. I mean, and as much as we talk about it, we seem to be the only ones, us, the other, internet wrestling community care about the women's division, and yeah, nothing. Like I said, when I saw that pop that Sera got, and I was just thinking, man, that coupled with the reception she got, obviously in England at All In, but just like this was supposed to be at least the flag bearer. She could have still been positioned as a flag bearer. And not had loads and loads of matches, still use her sparingly. But even that, they're not even doing anymore because they just don't care about the division enough. So yeah, it's a shame. But yeah, we've got a lot to talk about in regards to the Continental Classic. So we're gonna move on to that. Definitely been my favorite thing about AEW's products over the last month. I think this has been an incredible tournament, and I'm gonna start again from the person that I didn't even want in this tournament, but I have to hold my hand up and say my bad. We'll start from Jay Lethal and Mark Briscoe. So this was a nothing match. Both men were out of the tournament, and were basically fighting for pride, as they said on commentary, fighting to kind of show why they were included in the first place and why they should be included in future Continental Classics going forward. And both men have a storied history. This match was really, really good. I just felt like Mark Briscoe, more so than Jay Lethal, like had something to prove. And there was a really good promo. I can't remember if it was on Dynamite last week or Collision maybe, where he spoke about like, yes, he's been wrestling for time, but he's been a tag team wrestler, and that this is like his rookie year as a singles guy, which basically just made me think, you're allowed to lose then. Yeah, you're fine. I'm buying it. Like it's fine for you to lose to all these guys, because yeah, ultimately you've told us now why this is all new to you. You still need to get used to singles wrestling, obviously following the tragic passing of his brother. Jay Lethal obviously doesn't have such an excuse. He is Jay Lethal. He's been out here doing it at this for time. But yeah, Mark Briscoe was brilliant. There was the little scenario of the chair coming into the ring and the ref wanting to get rid of it, and then the what's the thing that Sabu does with the chair outside the ring, with the finish. Go on, sorry.
Then he grabbed my man. The part I like,
he grabbed the man's hat.
I was like,
yeah. There was a Jay Driller attempt by Jay Lethal, and then we saw a burning hammer, and then Mark Briscoe picked him up for the Jay Driller, and then put away Jay Lethal. So yeah, really good match. From here, NK, what did you think about the match firstly? And then where do you think we see Mark Briscoe now? Does he just take this position in other like areas in the company? Like he could be a good defense for Orange Cassidy in the International Championship? Is there any progression to Mark Briscoe as a singles wrestler in AEW?
One, I thought this match was great. I've really enjoyed this match. This match was fun, and this was, yeah, I'd like Mark Briscoe saying, yes, my rookie as a singles wrestler, kind of like you said, recontextualized how we viewed his entire, not even just run, but entire his career. It's like, oh yeah, like he's never been like a singles wrestler for an extended period of time. He's always dabbled here, come back, dabbled here, come back. So yeah, I thought this is I think this is his last match in the tournament. So, you know, what a final hurrah, and he got his win. What we do with Mark Briscoe going forward, I don't see him. I don't think he needs a title at this moment. I think it's hard to say with these things. I think a more story-focused feud, just like have him feud with somebody. I remember like back in the early days of AEW, people just used to have random feuds for no reason. I remember the whole Darby Allin, Ethan Page stuff. Like that was, I think that was for the TNT, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, just have him have a feud and not necessarily like kind of remove him from the ROH alumni. Obviously, him and Jay Lethal was fine, but I'd love to see him feud. There are some names that are escaping me right now, but heck, I'd love to see him if he does get a title shot, maybe Christian, but before he gets to Christian, you know, beats a Nick Wayne, he should beat Nick Wayne. Like, yeah, like, you know, someone of that ilk where it's like, you know, I'm facing off against these younger guys, but I'm smoking them. Heck, you know what? Obviously, I think my man's on maternity leave. But Sammy Guevara, when he comes back, Jungle Boy, when he comes back.
Yeah.
But I guess those are guys that you kind of, but that's a feud where I think him and those guys and Mark Briscoe can kind of trade wins back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't think it hurts like Jungle Boy's stock to lose to Mark Briscoe initially and then get his win back. So just stuff like that. I don't think, like I said, I'm trying to avoid just saying throw a title at everyone, because as much as AEW has 10,000 titles, there's still 1 million people on the roster. So even if you have 10,000, there's still people that are gonna go hungry without titles. Yeah. And so just find like a quick feud for him to do. Mark Briscoe, someone, you know, he doesn't need too much. We don't need a blood feud. We just need somebody to disrespect Mark Briscoe and have him cut promos. I think one of the things about the Briscoes, and obviously it won't be the same without Jay, but bring back the farm promos. It won't be the same without Jay. Of course it won't. But Mark Briscoe, I just want a week where he's on the chicken farm, he's just talking crud, and then that starts a feud. Because that's who the Briscoes are. And, you know, keep that a part of Mark. The chicken farm promos, man. Bring them back.
Yeah, I think you could definitely have someone like a younger superstar, some of the names you were reeling off, disrespect him, and it's almost like the typical kind of the young man disrespecting the veteran, and you know they do something from there. Apparently, I am KJ. He says, I hope this Jay Lethal whitewash pushes I need to get myself to get on my by myself, or get himself together, I think he's trying to say. Yeah, I think that could be a thing as well. Maybe this is him trying to disband from the whole Jeff Jarrett faction thing, maybe to kind of get himself proper again. You don't think so?
I think it's long for Lethal. I think it's very long for Jay Lethal. And this isn't I think it's very long for him. I'm so sorry. Like, I know that's not even a disrespect to like I know who Jay Lethal is. I just think at this point in his career, he can still go. But and I think this is just due to how like stacked the AEW roster is. There are so many people that I look towards. I'm like, no, you need your time to shine before Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
And honestly, like even when he signed for AEW, I remember like everyone was
questioned it.
Bro, I was like, I remember because we was I think at Loading Bar and everyone was
Loading Bar, yeah.
TNT champion in my head. I was like, enhancement. Respect.
Bro, if you remember, we were at Shoreditch.
Yeah.
And Mandem was saying that he'll be the first ever black world champion.
I was never a part of that, part of that crew. I was like, this guy's here to make other guys look better. I saw it, and you know, if you're a Jay Lethal fan and you're upset by that, I hear it. Jay Lethal is will go down as probably like one of the most underappreciated talents in wrestling because just of what he done in wrestling.
Yeah.
But I just think the queue is the talent of wrestlers we have at our disposal. Think about the man them who won even in the Continental Classic that we were crying to be in it.
Yeah.
And think about the man them that will be in it next year. I just don't see an avenue, because if I told you, okay, Jay Lethal dethrones Orange Cassidy, okay, fine, you can make it work, but fine.
Yeah.
Jay Lethal dethrones Christian Cage, but not tag team the scene. Him and Jeff Jarrett as tag team champions. We're not feeling it. Him, Satnam Singh and Jeff Jarrett as trios, maybe because they claimed our champions. Maybe.
To be honest, when Jeff Jarrett was it the Acclaimed where they were chasing down when Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal were tagging?
Yeah,
I would have given them the tag team championships there.
That's fair. That's
because then it was very like it was amusing and it was entertaining. I would have given them the tag team championships there, but they chose to stick with the Acclaimed, I believe.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, I could see that.
One last one before we move on. Dell says him and Jay Lethal were fantastic. So Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal. I think an eventual TNT or Ring of Honor television title would be good. You know what? After kind of seeing how this whole thing played out, for Mark Briscoe, that is, depending how this Triple Crown is booked over the next year, I wouldn't be surprised, and maybe this is a very early prediction, very, very early prediction, if someone like Mark Briscoe is in it again and potentially wins it next time. Because he's shown he puts on good matches. He's got a win finally in the end that could get him in the back door through for the next one. And like I said, if they don't book this, if it feels very mid-cardish, like for the next year, then they can still put in big names when they come to do it next year. But someone like Mark Briscoe could kind of, do an upset. We can clearly see AEW are looking after him anyway. Just keeping him about and keeping him busy. So, I mean, we'll see. I think it really comes down to the booking of this Triple Crown over the next year. But we'll see. But yeah, that was the bottom two fighting it out. The show opened up. Yeah, show opened up with Swerve Strickland versus Roosh. So where we were for this particular match, it was must win for Roosh. Roosh had to beat Swerve to stay alive in this tournament. Swerve, I believe a win was enough to confirm that he would be in the semi-final, no matter what else was going to happen. A fantastic match. Like, honestly, when Roosh is in the ring, like it goes from a wrestling match to a scrap. Like
Bro.
it is just a pure scrap. Whether you fight that style, wrestle that style or not, like this is what you're forced to do at this point now to stay alive. I was surprised we didn't see anything really, what's the word, super powerful put away Roosh. Like it seemed fairly like, oh, was that the finish? Done, sort of thing for me. But yeah, this match was really good, man. What did you think of it?
Listen, man. Roosh is probably my favorite person to watch throughout this tournament. If I was to pick, like, not say MVP, but most fast interesting to watch, Roosh. Roosh has just been a joy to watch. But the crowd during this match, and I made reference to it earlier, but when Swerve was on the top rope and he rose, I could see literally the audience in the back standing up with him and going, oh, like it's a testament to, and this is kind of what tournaments can do. Like, even in losing, even though Roosh's record in the tournament wasn't great, but in losing, like, I feel like we always knew Roosh was cold, but it's like it reminded us like who Roosh is. And this tournament for Swerve, I mean, Swerve had momentum coming into this tournament, and now it's like it's kept the momentum there. And I was worried after last week, oh my god, what are we gonna do with Swerve? But it's like that drama is kind of what's needed in AEW. That drama of, oh my god, wins and losses matter. Like, we're watching this match. We're not watching a regular exhibition. We're watching a match with stakes. Every match has a reason for being on the show, and it means something to these wrestlers to win. So when Swerve won, I was happy for Swerve, but naturally I was like, oh, damn, Roosh.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, man, but it's a tournament. Someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. And the thing is, it's like, now I need LFI to win those trios titles. I need.
You know what? I before the tournament, that's what I was saying as well. Now that I've even seen these performances from Roosh, I need him to win the international title.
Fairs.
And just be smoking guys like this every week.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that's what I need.
Something that 2024 is Roosh's year must happen. Roosh's year, like something with Roosh, we must. But onto Swerve, man. I can't call him breakout star of the year because this happened like during the last couple months of the year.
Yeah.
But what a couple months he's had, man. I'd even say, obviously, the Hangman feud is when it's say over the top, but even I'd say from like this Darby Allin Sting stuff with AR Fox, which I don't know what he's doing right now, but sorry, mate. But just from that onwards, it's been like slowly building momentum, and then now he's a finalist, man. He's a finalist.
Yeah, and performances from him again. I was saying that don't put him in this tournament because we really didn't know where this tournament, how they were posing it. At the time that the tournament was announced, the prize wasn't announced. We didn't know, does the person get a number one contendership? Did they win a belt? Like what happens to the winner? They put Swerve in this off the back of, a match for the ages. And I just thought, if he's not going to win this and it's not like a number one contendership, I don't want him in this. But there has been a lot of good that has happened from him being in this, being on the screen, week in, week out, putting on these great matches week in, week out. It's just, where the Hangman stuff was very heavy on the characters and the story that those two were telling before the matches. This is literally just all matches. So, the detractors that will say, he's just this. Now you can see he does this. And the man that say, oh, no, he's just that. Now you can see he does this as well. So, yeah, I will definitely hold my hand up and say I was wrong in saying that he shouldn't have been in here. It's been very good for him. Although I don't see him progressing, and we'll talk about what's happened next. Like, I feel like he had to be in this, I guess, block final at the very least, or get this close to it at the very least. And then in the main event, we saw John Moxley versus, if I say Jay Lethal, Jay White, Switchblade Jay White. Mox was in the semi-final next week. Regardless, this didn't mean much to him. Jay Lethal again in a must-win situation to get him into the semi-final and make the semi-final a triple threat because he would beat Moxley and Swerve had a win over Jay White. That's what made it a triple threat situation because they all kind of had wins over each other and Moxley beat Swerve, obviously. So yeah, I was laughing by the end of the show when I saw Jay White get the win. I was literally pissing myself thinking, trust TK to book this triple threat when he could have just, done the easy thing. But I think, guess knowing how wrestling works, they probably don't want Swerve to take another pin. And I can only imagine, in my prediction of what I've thought all along, Mox is going to get his win back because obviously Jay White beat him on the night. Again, I felt a very kind of abrupt finisher. It was kind of like they announced 15 minutes or had gone 5 minutes remaining. And it's like Jay White said, oh, okay. And, done his finishing move and bang, like pinned him. So yeah, other than that, the match was fun. The match was good though. But we've got, like I say, a triple threat match next week in the semi-final, the block final. John Moxley, Switchblade Jay White, and Swerve Strickland. What did you think?
I really like this match. Obviously, I think the best match was Rouge versus. I think this is the weakest match on the show. In terms of like the Continental Classic matches, but I love how I just love the Blade Runner, how abrupt the Blade Runner is. I always loved how Jay White just hits the Blade Runner out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it's like it literally like it comes like there's no setup for it. It's just bang, Blade Runner, match is done. Super abrupt. Jay White winning has completely changed who I think wins this tournament.
Really?
Completely.
So what are you thinking? Go for it.
I think Jay White wins. I think we get a Jay White Kingston final.
And then who wins?
Jay White. Because if I remember correctly, Kingston's the person who took the title of Jay White.
Kingston
he took a title. No, he took the title of 10. No, sorry. Kingston retired Jay White from New Japan. That's what Kingston
Correct.
did.
Yeah.
Kingston retired Jay White from New Japan. I think they're gonna run that back. And I think Jay White gets his get back by saying, and Kingston, as much as like he's won the title, he's a perennial loser. He had his moment this year. You won the RH title. You beat your rival Claudio. The Triple Crown is right in front of you, and it will get taken away. That's what I think the storyline will be. Is that he gets right next to that Triple Crown, and Jay White says, "Nah, I win this." And I think, and maybe this is me, I think it rehabs Jay White. It starts to rehab him a little bit, and then it's like, okay, cool. It totally excludes the blunder that happened at Full Gear, but it's like, okay, you're the inaugural winner of the Continental Classic.
He's the person with all the tournament experience, as he said, with G1.
So
yeah.
I feel like for me, because when Jay White won, I was like, he won. What? Because I think one thing is guaranteed. I think whoever wins Swerve does not get pinned.
Yeah.
I think Swerve does not get pinned. I feel Moxley and Jay White are like the two front runners. And for me, maybe this is me just being like, I don't know, conspiracy theorist with it, but I feel Jay White wins. I feel Jay White, Eddie Kingston is a very interesting matchup, and they have history. So yeah, for me, Jay White winning kind of just got my brain thinking, maybe we might be doing something here.
To be honest, I like that. I really do like that. Like I said, for a long time, I've been set on Moxley Kingston final, and what they're gonna do there. But like, I do like that idea. I think for me though, because that story that you just talked about, you know, retiring him from New Japan and stuff is, I think it's so good. They should wait. If Kingston does win it, then like Jay White could be a challenger later on. They tell that story in full, because by next Wednesday, we'll be sitting here knowing who's going to World's End. And then if it's Jay White and then Eddie Kingston, by the time he wins, it's just like they're just gonna have to tell that probably quickly on commentary. Whereas the two of them, promos and everything, I would like to really see them, you know, get into that more so. But like I say, Jay White, he said that he's got the tournament experience. He'll be kind of making a late run for it, a late dash for the final, same way as Eddie Kingston has lost his first 2 matches. He's kind of making a late dash for it as well. Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm not against it. And like you said, I don't want to say it's for the kind of he's back or he's rehabbing, but it's definitely like a apology for, I guess, the misbooking of him at the beginning of the year, after they brought him in, everything that happened at Full Gear. I think following Full Gear, he was quite vocal as well that
he wasn't a fan.
wasn't happy with the booking and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, this could definitely go a long way. And Jay White as an inaugural champion, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then I have to commend AEW for. I mean, I kind of wish some of these were on TV, but at the same time, the post-match promos I've been seeing on social media, man, have been excellent, man. Like they just add another like layer to the tournament, and I guess you can't do them all the time on TV, but hopefully for like the block final, we get like a small little vignette, just maybe like a brief interview with all the wrestlers right before, you know, the big match. But I'm excited, man. I hope this triple threat match doesn't become like a thing that happens every final, because that'll get cokey and cheesy. And I think with the other block, will be quite straightforward, whoever wins. I don't want another triple threat in that block.
I don't think we'll get a triple threat, but I'm still thinking we haven't seen the draw. The time limit draw might still rear its head somewhere within that block. So yeah, it'll be interesting regardless. We'll see. Yeah, no, but the tournament's been very, very good. Like I'm trying to enjoy the tournament for what it is. I'm trying not to worry about what's AEW gonna look like in January when there is no tournament.
Yeah,
like hopefully it doesn't dip or fall off a cliff, or like let's take this good momentum, tell some good stories. You know, they haven't announced a January pay-per-view, but with how they've been going, I'm sure there probably will be one, maybe. At least we know we're gonna probably get a couple of TV specials or whatever in there.
Yeah. And it gets me excited for next year's one, man. I mean, just the fact that, you know, we know Will Ospreay signed. And the amount of names that weren't in this tournament. I mean, Hangman. Obviously, I think Darby's off doing Mount Everest training. Please be safe. But the amount of names like you could throw in there next year, and of course, like I think with this tournament, I don't think we're gonna get everyone and anyone, but there are people that, in my opinion, should. I think Hangman must be there next year. Must. Like obviously with this one, we had a storyline excuse kind of, because he lost the Swerve match, and fine. He still could have been in it, but fine.
I mean, they said obviously he couldn't fly because of his head or whatever the case is, isn't it? So he might have been too late to join the tournament.
Wise. But I feel like next year, I mean, you've got the likes of Sammy Guevara coming back, and obviously Sammy Guevara as a character, we have our criticisms, but as an in-ring competitor, you're there. I mean, you've got guys Takeshita, Bandit. I mean, there are so many different names that you could throw in the tournament, and obviously Danielson won't be there next year because he would have retired from full-time wrestling. He'd still be there in the mix, but would have retired. So who knows? You know, a certain Rainmaker may not be in New Japan anymore. I don't want that. I want him to stay in Japan, but I'm just saying, possibilities.
I mean, they could they can get him in regardless if they wanted to. After all,
Mm.
they told us this is going to be the 12 best in AEW, and it's not the 12 best. As enjoyable as it's been, it's not the 12 best. So they can bend the rules if they really wanted to. But yeah, it's been good. We'll see. I guess the B block stuff get wrapped up probably over this weekend. With the last few matches. And then, I guess the block finals will happen on Dynamite, and so next week Dynamite Collision, then it's pay-per-view. Before we get out of here, just obviously a word on Kenny Omega. We saw on the show Chris Jericho basically announced what's gone on with Kenny Omega. It looks like diverticulitis, which is very, very dangerous. Lucky they've kind of caught it now. And hopefully he can heal, and we see him back in the ring. And obviously Jericho was basically passing on his regards, passing in his best thoughts and wishes from the whole of the fan base and stuff like that. He said that, once you're back, the Golden Jets can resume. And I said, let's not. But I guess that throws obviously what they had planned for World's End and the tag team picture into a bit of disarray. But just as fans of Kenny Omega, are we looking at, especially with probably where he was mentally with everything, just coming back from another big injury and stuff like that, are we looking at the last days of the best bout machine?
Yeah, I feel Kenny's quite up there in age as well. He's in his, I believe he's either just turned 40 or in his 40s. And obviously, like, the style in which he wrestles can't be good for the body. And even though he's wrestled like here and there, like the matches he's wrestled, like the Ospreay match, is physically taxing. Did a cage match with Moxley, did Blood and Guts, did Anarchy in the Arena, did a table spot with Vikingo. MJ, like, he wrestles a very taxing style, and it's like wrestling, like, there's trade-offs. Like, you can wrestle that style and it garners you, best in the world, it garners you, certain accolades and titles, but it takes a toll. Whereas in wrestling a safer style, you might not get all the plaudits from certain people, but longevity. And that's kind of the trade-off you make in wrestling. And obviously each wrestler, has certain aspirations and certain how they view wrestling in different ways. So they prioritize different things. But I just think with Kenny Omega right now, we're kind of seeing the wrap-up of a generation. And it's kind of poetic. Or not poetic, but it's good business, but that they've brought in Ospreay. Ospreay was touted to be the successor to Kenny in New Japan, and now Kenny's in his, like, hopefully his last couple years, but definitely towards the twilight of his career. You've got the next one, and you've got the next generation. In my opinion, AEW's in the place right now where if the likes of the Omegas, the Danielsons, I'm not ready for Moxley yet, but just I'm putting them in this category, the Moxleys, the Jerichos. If a lot of the founding fathers were to go, there's enough of an undercurrent of talent to where we'd obviously miss them and can never replace them, but AEW would still be in good hands. And they've done a good job in elevating, for example, the two Hangman Page and MGF to that main event status. So hopefully it's not the end, but Kenny Omega has to prioritize his health first, and he's given enough to the business as it is. So because he said he's suspended indefinitely, that could mean he could not come back at all. Yeah. And if Kenny Omega was to say, do you know what, due to health complications, I can't come back to wrestling, trust me, there's not many people that will miss him more than me. But I just think, it's the passing of the torch, and nothing lasts forever. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but we wish him a speedy recovery nonetheless.
Yeah, at least get healthy to the point where it's not affecting your livelihood too much. If you can't come back to wrestling, listen, big man, I've seen it all. I've been there.
I dropped tears when you beat Okada finally, bro. So I've lived it. I'm good, sort of thing. Just
you
take care of yourself.
you started a bloody wrestling company, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, in terms of like legacy, everything else right now is side missions at this point. It's like, yeah, I want to see this dream match, I want to see that dream match, but and you know, I want to see you versus Edge, Adam Copeland, but if I don't get that match, yeah, I'll be upset. But does that change your legacy? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So yeah, at this point, it's like you've done it all, and right now you're just completing side missions. So don't get me wrong, I want to see you complete those side missions, but I mean, your impact in wrestling, I mean, boy, we could do a whole episode just dedicated to what you've done to the business, innit? So
literally, yeah. And as you're saying, I think the future, that main event scene of AEW is cemented just in terms of some of those names. Like, they will be absolutely fine, especially if the booking kind of gets back to a place of where it once was. They will be absolutely fine. I would go as far as saying, if the booking gets back to a place where it once was, with these talents they have at these kind of ripe ages that they have them, it will surpass anything that they have already done.
Agreed.
Like, so it's just a case of getting it right. Don't let, you know, I think TK has probably learned a lot in the first couple of years, especially with things like with managing these big stars, managing egos, this, that, and the other. Like, that's the only thing that could ruin or rock the ship, letting people get too big for their boots. You know, keep people in the company that want to be in the company. Anyone that doesn't want to be there or wants to use it as leverage, get rid of them. They're cancers as far as I'm concerned. Like, let's get AEW back to a place where I remember when people were signing for AEW like 19, 20, 2021. This place is great. I love AEW. Everyone backstage so friendly. That was all that was ever being said. It would have just made me think, what the hell is happening backstage in WWE where everyone is coming here and they're just super positive about the place, and you just don't hear that anymore. Let's get it back to that place, because that's when they were producing some of their best TV and some of their best bits. But yeah, as for a couple of talent that they've got more than enough to supersede everything that they've already done. As long as obviously booking and stuff improves, like I say. But yeah, that is our show. Thank you guys for tuning into Revolution Radio this week. Obviously, next week will be the go home show for World's End, which we gotta have a world title match, MJF versus Samoa Joe. That's been penned for the show. We've got obviously the finals of the Continental Classic, which I'm sure by then we'll know who the matchup will be by the end of Dynamite next week for that. And of course, there's this devil stuff hanging over, and you kind of think, you know, come World's End, the devil will reveal himself. So we'll see how that goes. Any last words, NK, before we get out of here?
Yeah, man. You know, finally we have a good tournament, man, and it's like the booking of the Continental Classic has made me see what the hell will you man do with the Owen.
I'm even thinking they should maybe even scrap it for next year, or just don't do it, because the comparisons, people will just go mad with the comparisons online.
Scrap it. But you know what? It's like New Japan can do it. They do the New Japan Cup and the G1 in the same year.
But so they're both good, though.
They're both, exactly. So why can't you make the Owen good? Make it good, like make it, and they're two different style of tournaments, anyways.
Yeah,
one is single elimination, one is, you know, round robin bracket style. So you could, and the gap between them is enough. So listen, I don't know, man. Just make the Owen better, man. Please, I beg. Just make it better.
Make it better. No, I definitely hear that. Guys, as you know, we done our WRESTHINGS podcast live yesterday, so that's already on the channel. It won't be out tomorrow. The audio might be out tomorrow on podcast platforms, but the actual podcast is on YouTube already, so you can check that out. Tier rankings is out. We've done the tag teams, we've done the factions, we've done best match of the year. Tune in next week when the women's will be released, best women of the year as well. And yeah, like this live stream, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and we'll catch you in the next one.